Podcast. I am Kyle, joined by my brother Keenan. And hey, today we're going to be
What's
talking
up?
the NBA in-season tournament. This is the
Mm-hmm.
very first time it's going to be going on. It actually starts in about an hour and a half. Celtics versus Pacers.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me be more specific. Celtics at Pacers. Pacers got the home game there. And then we'll have Pelicans at Kings, I believe, right after that. And then we got
Yes.
two
Yep.
games tomorrow, which will be Suns at Lakers is the late game. Then the early game would be Knicks at Bucks, I believe. I believe it'll be in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Then after that,
Yep.
it's in Vegas on site, like it's the Final Four or something for the semifinals and the finals. Keenan, I mean, we've kind of alluded to it. We've been talking football most of the time, but we've alluded to our excitement for this. What are your feelings now that it's here? It's like an hour and a half away. What's your feeling? Like, do you feel like the same way you feel like when it's the first Saturday of the NBA playoffs? Like, how do you feel right now?
Um, I feel like that mixed in with like the conference finals, and the reason why is just the scheduling. The conference final, just literally just the scheduling because of the conference final, or like the second round, I'll say, because sometimes you get the two games. But just the fact that they shut down the NBA today and tomorrow, and then Thursday and Saturday, they just said those are the only games that matter. Just because of that, it kind of, but it gives like the first game of the playoffs, like it's giving that feel. I'm excited to like watch the game, like to start off like the intro and how people really take it, because you will be able to instantly tell if it's like, oh no, we kind of care, or if it's like, yeah, no, this is like a playoff game to us. So I couldn't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
I
fun.
think I'm kind of in the same vein. Like to me, it almost feels like NCAA tournament time, like the Elite Eight or the Final Four,
Yeah,
especially with the secluded.
or kind of like their conference championships, kind of like because they do take those
Oh, sure,
serious.
yeah.
Like I was just thinking back, like because I have like the Big Ten championship, the ACC championship, to where like they that matters to the school, of course. So it kind of feels like almost that time. Like I mean, last weekend in college football, Alabama beat Georgia. Um, College football playoffs was obviously a controversy there, but we don't need to talk about that now. This is NBA time, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just having it on site is going to be an event. I'm assuming it's going to be at the Thomas and Mack Center. Um, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of celebrities. I mean, look, there's no big boxing match, no big UFC fight. Like it's going to be all about the NBA, especially Thursday and Saturday. Uh, Weird times, 5 o'clock. That's very interesting to me because we have the NBA playoffs all the time, and they very strictly stick to no earlier than 7 o'clock. You get game times at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9:30, 10:30. Never do you see at 5 o'clock when people are, normally either still at work or on their way back from work. So that's very interesting to me. I'm shocked by it, to be quite honest with you. It's kind of cool, I guess. I got to
Yeah.
plan my day a little different, but
I mean, and think about, you have to plan your day a little different. We're on the East Coast. That's a
it's a two
2 o'clock
o'clock West.
West
Yeah,
time.
you got to be mad if
That's
you're on the
that's
West
two,
Coast there. And
two
you know
o'clock.
what? I guess that would be even more like March Madness for them on that side, because those be all day.
Yeah,
Uh, but I guess a little different. I mean, I'm obviously not as big into college anymore. That there's more of an event around that. There's just so much unknown about it. Like you said, I mean, we've already seen in the play in games, the group play games, that the intensity is raised, right? So I do wonder,
yeah.
do we get playoff field in A? I think the semifinals and finals are going to be, as competitive as can be.
This,
I think it'll be a lot like the first time we had the Elan ending in the All-Star game. And we're like, how's this going to
uh,
be?
this is why we're the Warner Brothers. This is why we're the Warner Brothers podcast. I was just
Yeah.
about to mention that. That was literally
Because
what I was
we're
about
like,
to mention. This
how's
is
it
why
going to
we're the
be? And
Warner
honestly,
Brothers.
it's never lived up since that first one. But that first one was like basketball heaven to me almost. Like you had, 10 of
It,
the best players in the league at the time going mano a mano, taking it as serious as possible. And we never lived up. And I think they're keeping it for this year.
it felt like what they probably felt in the '90s,
Even more
like
than that.
because like our '80s, '90s fourth quarter, like. But yeah, no, you're right. There was such a. It was so nice to just see like, oh, LeBron against Giannis, and Giannis got him, and so LeBron's like, I'm going back at him, like without a question, like I'm going back at him, and that's what you would think. Obviously, with them being West and East now, that's what you would think you'd see. Game 4 of the finals down to Giannis goes at LeBron. You'd be like, okay, LeBron's going back at Giannis. They're like, it's money time. And it was beautiful to see. Embiid was all like, every single player on the court was like, yeah, it's that time, and they haven't lived up to it since. I wish they had. I mean, there hasn't been, other than Steph's 51, even though like the record was, people scored more than that. I believe the next year, I think Tatum scored more than that. But obviously, just because of the barrage of threes he had 16. Like after that ending, there hasn't been really a notable moment other than like if you want to say LeBron hitting the game winner in that one. That'd be the only other like notable
Yeah, I
part of
mean,
it.
to me that
I
first
wish it
one
was more.
was really it. The other ones have either been too far apart
Yeah,
or whatever. But yeah, no, that first one I'll never forget. I knew it was serious when the ref made a call, and Chris Paul, Harden, and LeBron were all at the referee's necks. I'm like, oh yeah, no, they're all in regular season form right now.
on the Kyle Lowry charge, and Kyle Lowry is taking
That's all
charges
you
in
need
the
to
All
know.
Star game, like not even like in the paint. He's 30 feet away from the basket, and Chris Paul gives him one of like the arms, and like he flops back and gets the call, and they're like, "Wait, what?" Oh man, I hope they get back to that this year. I need LeBron and Steph to say like, "We're doing this," because Giannis is always going to come to play, but it's those two are obviously your pillars, so like they kind of set a tone. And if they set the tone and they're like, yes, this really matters, the rest will follow suit. That's just how it kind of works. When your leaders say that, then the rest will
I
follow
agree with
suit.
you, except you know what? LeBron and Steph have been the co-faces of the league really since 2016 now, right? And
Yeah,
it's only gotten worse and worse aside from that one year when they finally went at it for that
that's
Alon ending.
true.
Literally just that one year. Last year was the worst I've ever seen. And the year before that, I believe, was the NBA 75 anniversary. And you had all the greats in the building, and you still couldn't even summon, some sort of competitiveness. So I've given up on not only the All-Star game, All-Star weekend in general, aside from the 3-point contest. I mean, again,
Dunk contest last year
was
was
it?
pretty good though.
I mean, it
I will
probably
give him
was. I
credit.
literally don't
The
even
dunk
remember it.
contest that was
Oh, it was.
That was
Yeah, it
Mac
was pretty
McClung
good. But
last year.
that's where it's come to
So
is that we got Mac McClung from the G League saving it. So, I mean, I've given up until we get
yeah,
someone of note in there. I don't know why all of a sudden it's not cool. We can save that for February. I got tons of, I mean, you'll get a yearly complaint out of me every February for the All-Star weekend.
we that like if people have watched the Warner Brothers podcast since 2019, which so the first one was in 2020, early 2020, every single year we will talk about the All-Star game and how it needs to change. Every single year we'll talk about All-Star weekend and how these stars aren't doing it, and I'm going to let you know right now, we're going to do it again because it really infuriates me that I don't see Zion, Ja, Derek Jones Jr. and insert somebody else. Don't care. Zion and Ja, that's all I care about. Honestly, if LeBron did it this year, I would be pumped. Like I would be like, and that's all. That's one of my biggest gripes in all of NBA is that LeBron's never done a dunk contest. Don't get me started on that again. But one of my biggest gripes is that he's never done one.
It's rough. It's rough. But hey, we're here. We get LeBron and Durant in a playoff situation in December. Who would have thought? Who would have thought in December we'd get a LeBron Kevin Durant playoff game? But we get it. We get it. And I cannot wait for that game.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait for tonight's games. Let's just start there. Let's do a little preview of these two games. We'll start in the East. All right. We got the Celtics going to the Pacers. To me, the Pacers are the most exciting team to watch in the league. I think the Celtics, top to bottom, when healthy, are probably the best team in the league. They won't have Porzingis tonight. I believe they'll have everybody else. Um, how do you
Mm-hmm.
feel about that game? Do you think the Pacers have a chance? Do you think they have a puncher's chance? Do you think it's Celtics all day? Like, what do you think about it?
I think the Pacers have a chance the higher the score goes. If this game ended in like a 117 to like 109, you could book a Celtics win. If it gets to the 120s and the 130s, which seems where the Pacers have lived lately and like all season pretty much, yeah, then the Pacers definitely have a chance. But I think Boston, if Tatum comes out first quarter like this is a playoff game, I just think Boston's too good. Even without Porzingis. I just think they're a little too good. Not that they can't lose, because again, like these are all like, unlike March Madness, even though like March Madness upsets happen, these are all NBA players. Tyrese Halliburton's a true like star budding, trying to be a superstar. Like he is probably the second best player on the court behind Jason Tatum. I think he's a little bit better than Jaylen Brown. Like he is for
A lot
real,
better.
and that team plays really well. Yeah, well, they coach well by Rick Carlisle. So like that team definitely can play with. I just think the Celtics are a little bit too good, and I kind of want the Celtics to win. I kind of would like Bucks Celtics, and then I would like Lakers Kings or Suns Kings. I don't really care. The Lakers Suns is the matchup I got wanted,
Yeah,
but the Pelicans
I
can
mean
win
the
too, and I wouldn't
Celtics
mind.
they already put up 155 on the Pacers, so it really doesn't matter if it's higher scoring or lower scoring to me. Um, Especially since even if it gets high scoring, guess what? The Celtics still have the ability to get stops. The Pacers are literally the worst defense in the league. Uh, so,
Yep.
even if it is 140, 140 with 2 minutes left, you still got Jason and Jalen and Holiday and Derek White and Horford who can all clamp. So, that's kind of the perfect foil for the Pacers. So I'm not really too worried about tonight's game. Halliburton, I believe, is coming off of illness too, which helps. Uh, look, let me just give flowers to Halliburton, though. Imagine if he was still on the Kings right now. Obviously, they'd still be without Sabonis, but him and Fox at that pace, I mean, it's weird because it worked out. Like, it worked perfectly for both teams. Like, I don't think the Kings are mad having Sabonis. I don't think the Pacers are mad at all, obviously, with Halliburton. But other teams got to be
No.
kicking themselves because players of his caliber do not get traded in the second year anymore. That's something usually you'd see in the 90s or 2000s when the league was less smart. Um, Halliburton is
Mm-hmm.
immediately right now. He's got to be a top 10 player in the league just right now, just today. You take probably Dame Lillard and change over him. But just today, there's not many players playing better than him. He's going out there with goddamn Magic Johnson stats, damn near. He is, and it is
A touch better than Magic in the
scoring.
sense of points and rebounds put together, just because Magic was typically capped out at like 23. He's at 27 plus 12 assists. But obviously, Magic would be good for 7, 8 rebounds ish. He's only at 3.5. So, like, not that I'm trying to say he's better than Magic, but like when you put the points and assists just together, he is a little step ahead of Magic right now just because he has to do more scoring. I feel like Magic could have probably given you 27 and 10 if he wanted to. It just he was he just led the pretty much the greatest show in court.
Absolutely. But yeah,
Showtime.
Halliburton, I got to give him and Carlisle their flowers. They might find themselves in the real playoffs. Um, that might be a team that adds something at the trade deadline. Who knows? Needless to say, though, we both have the Celtics tonight. By the sounds, it sounds like you're rooting for the Celtics. Um, let's just do the East right now, actually, and then we'll do the West separately. You said you want to see
Yep.
Celtics Bucks. I kind of think it's going to be Celtics Knicks. I think the Knicks are in a good spot, whereas the Bucks have one of the worst defenses in the league. Bucks can't play any
Yeah.
lick of defense. Like they just cannot, right? The Knicks are well coached. The Knicks have continuity. Uh, I think it's similar, Keenan, to like when we mentioned LeBron and Wade last podcast. I think it's when that team first got together, the Heatles, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and they did not get going up until
They started nine
yeah,
and
up
eight. I
until
want to
about this
say,
point in the
if I remember
season where
correctly.
LeBron made his return to Cleveland. It was literally like around the same time of year, like maybe even I don't know, like mid December, some point. I don't know. I know it was early December, mid December, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But uh
Yeah.
they at least could play defense. They had to iron their kinks out on offense. Bucks, they can play offense, but they can't play
Yes.
defense. I kind of favor the Knicks in the spot. As much as I'd love to see Bucks Celtics, I think I kind of see an upset. So
That's I don't. I think it's gonna. I think that Dame is gonna bring it to where he Dame understands moments like this, and I just think that Dame's gonna be able to do enough. I think this is gonna be, if they win, I feel like it's gonna be a Dame game, not a Giannis game. Not that Giannis can't have a game, but I just feel like it's gonna be one of those games where like Giannis is maybe 25, 11, and 6. typical Giannis good, but like Dame goes off for like 38 and like closes them out. But Brunson's not as good as Dame, but Brunson feels almost as clutch as Dame. Brunson does not shy away from any moment and will go at anybody and hits big shots. I mean, they had their big comeback against Miami a couple weeks ago, and every play down the stretch, it was missed by Miami, big time three from Jalen, or big time mid range jump shot from Jalen. He getting his own shot. So I really respect the Knicks. I think they need one more piece. They just need one more to really get to like championship level. Like they're obviously they're a playoff caliber team to second
I agree
round.
with you. They need one more piece. Uh, and it's great. It's cool that Dame understands the moment. Like, yeah, he's a big time player, but I mean, they still got to play defense. I don't think. I mean,
Oh,
regardless,
of course. But I think they have. But I think they can play
but they can't
defense. I
though.
like.
They haven't.
You're
They
right.
haven't done it all year. They haven't shown anything. They can't. They can't play any lick of defense.
They
They can't
should.
at all. And the Knicks,
But the weird thing is they have like. Is Drew Holiday, was he that
yes,
important to that team? It's crazy to think like he might have been that important. So like if we look back at a couple years, could it have been wrong to get Dame? Like if I like somehow like it, just because of how much they had to give up and like they lost almost the identity of what made the Bucks, because obviously with the higher end talent you lose the lower end kind of mid tier to lower end talent and you don't have as
well, here's
much.
why it was right
It's
to
tough
get
to say.
Dame. Where you can't argue with it was if they don't get Dame. Let's say Dame's still in Portland right now. Let's say nobody gets him because they weren't trading him to Miami at that point because Miami's offer wasn't good. What if Boston swoops in with what they have? They don't get Holiday and get Dame instead, and then you got something like Tatum and Dame, and you're on the risk of losing Giannis. Giannis already signed his extension, so that trade's already worked out. So
Yeah,
maybe they
it's
don't win a
worked
ring
out,
this
and
year.
it's more so. I'm thinking stylistically more so than I'm thinking like logistically. Because logistically, you signing Giannis made that trade work out. Like this could never win, and you'd still work out because at least
I
you have
think the
Giannis,
bigger problem
kind of thing.
is not that they went and got Dame or gave up Holiday. It's more so the coach they selected. They had Nick Nurse right there. They could have went after him. And who's to
Yeah,
say he wouldn't have chose Milwaukee over Philly? You know what I mean? I mean, who wouldn't want to coach Giannis? And they upgrade Adrian Griffin, who maybe in time will be good, but we just don't know right now. And you don't know for a few months. But man, it's asking him a lot to coach Giannis and Dame. And again, this team just doesn't play defense right now. They do need more depth, and you assume they will get more depth. But I mean,
yeah.
look, I mean, I think if this is the same team in April, they're still their best route's still going to be to outscore people. And in a playoff situation, this team, and let's say the first round in April, that's a lot different than trying to iron out the kinks in a playoff situation versus the Knicks, a ready-made playoff team. They already have playoff experience. Like you said, Jalen Brunson is a crunch time player. Like he's you talk about the moment. He's built for that just as much as Dame. And that team's
Oh,
tough.
absolutely.
Thibodeau's been there. Uh, I just like the Knicks. I mean, if this was a series in April, yeah, maybe I do pick the Bucks over the Knicks. But tomorrow, just as the teams are presently constructed, I do like the Knicks in that spot, even if it is in Milwaukee. Uh, they can get stops more so than the Bucks can. Of course, you got to account for, like you said, maybe Dame has 38, maybe Giannis has got 27 and 15 and 8. They'll probably play only seven
Yeah,
players. Who knows? But I do like the Knicks, and I trust the Knicks more at this spot right now. Excuse me, I'll say that.
that's fair because just because of how it is. I'm just thinking back to like that first Heat team. Like you, not that they were exactly this level, but you would have favored a team possibly like the Bulls over the Heat at that early on, just because they were already established. That was the year Derrick Rose. You got Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, and like that whole collective. So you might have even favored them, but you obviously thinking overall the Bucks are a better team than the Knicks. The Heat were a better team than the Bulls, but yeah. So I don't disagree with how you break this down. I'm hopeful for the Bucks, but what you say makes a lot of
Difference again though
sense.
with that Heat team. They could at least, if nothing else, they could have played defense. Just the three of those guys, and that raises the level. This team can't play anything. They just don't play lick of defense. That's all.
It's,
Moving.
it's, it's one of the best defensive teams in the last 15 years. That team, and then like the 2016 Warriors were amazing defensively just because how Draymond was at his peak. But
Yeah,
go
no.
on.
So tonight's Western Conference game, Pelicans at the Kings. Kings have some playoff experience. Pelicans got a little bit, but the Kings really got their feet wet last year with a 7-game series with the Warriors. Um, Kings were a team I thought were going to fall back just because they don't play much defense. Not because they got worse, not because I dislike their team, but I really do love this team. I love how this team carries themselves. I do favor them in this playoff matchup, but the thing is, nobody in the league can guard Giannis. No one in the league can keep Giannis away from the basket. We've never really seen Giannis in a play, or sorry, Zion. Tomato
Zion.
at this point. You can't keep Zion from the basket. We've never really seen him in a playoff situation, but I mean, he is the level of player that can just take a game over himself. So that's where I kind of worry. I favor the Kings a little bit, but I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, I mean, Zion, I almost called him Giannis again. Zion could very well have 38 and 10 tonight by himself in 44 minutes and not really break a sweat.
More likely he gets 38 than 10.
It's true.
For some reason, he doesn't rebound.
He does not.
Well,
not as well as you
six,
think.
6 a game for him. 6 a game for him. That's low. Like he should be around the 8 to 9. Not that he has to be double.
You figure to be above 6.
With that,
you figure at least be 7.
Yeah, with that kind of size, with that kind of athleticism, you should think 5 would fall into your lap, and then you go and get 2 or 3 on your own. You just naturally Sabonis just gets 12. And there's no reason why Zion can't get around Sabonis rebounds. It's not like Sabonis is just some Dennis Rodman, I'm going for everything freakish, kind of. Sabonis is just like Kevin Love was, right place, right time, just not a box out. I'm just going to go for it. But you would think Zion would do the same thing, especially with how big his body
is. And Sabonis
is
is a big dude.
Whatever.
I mean, it's...
Yeah, some people just have a knack for it. Like, he's 6'10". He's a true 6'10", 6'11". Zion's
That's funny you say that,
6'6".
Keenan. That's exactly what I was about to mention. Some places list him at 6'10". Some places list him at 7'1", which I don't understand. Sabonis, yeah, go look it up. I promise you. I discovered this a few weeks ago. I was like, I thought he was 6'10", 6'11", because he plays the 4, but some places list him not just at 7 feet, but at 7'1". That is...
I would like to see him next to Durant because obviously Durant doesn't like to list himself at what he was. When he came into the league, remember he said that he wanted to be 6'9" starting off because that's what true small forwards were. I was like, Durant, you were not 6'9", or KG was always 6'11", but looking eye to eye with Tim Duncan, who was a clear 7'1". You're like, you're not 6'11", KG. Promise you're over.
KG's
7
at least 7'3".
You're looking eye to eye with Tim Duncan, who is 7'1", sometimes listed at 7'2". There's no way you're 6'11". I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you can't be.
Yeah, Duncan might be. Yeah, I forget how tall Duncan is, but I mean,
sometimes he was 7 foot, 7'1", 7'2". It's weird how they change heights for the years. Like LeBron was 6'8" forever, and then some I've seen before it was 6'9".
Well, they were supposed to a few years ago. They said they're going to start listing players at their true height in socks. And
true height. Yeah,
I think LeBron gained an inch. I remember Westbrook. I was reading through his he was 6'5". He's always listed at 6'3". I'm like, damn, I didn't realize that. I always just thought he was 6'3", and then you still see him listed at 6'3" places. I think Derrick Rose and Donovan Mitchell each are a true 6'1". They're not even 6'2" or 6'3", and they're listed as taller.
Yeah, because Steph is a true 6'3", and Westbrook's always been taller than him. So I was like,
I've seen Steph listed quite a bit of places at 6'2", which is interesting. You just see stuff, and because Draymond was listed at 6'5", that's his true height, and now you see 6'7" places. So I don't understand why they made a big fuss of we're going to make people list at their real heights and then don't list at their real heights anymore. That's digression though. Who do you have in this game? I mean, the Pelicans will be without CJ McCollum still. They'll still have Ingram and Zion and the rest of their squad. They're not great on the road, and the Kings are a really good home team, maybe even an elite home team. I just want to give one shout out, Keenan, before you answer. Malik Monk, he's got 2 of the best dunks of the season already. And I don't know if I brought this up last week. I meant to, but I'm going to bring it up now. They were playing the Clippers. First of all, they were playing the Clippers at home, Keenan, and they were wearing their blue jerseys, their alternate jerseys. And I thought the Clippers were at home. thought the Clippers were at home nearly the entire game because it's the Clippers color
So
scheme.
yeah,
I think the Clippers were wearing home
yep.
jerseys. I'm like, oh, didn't realize it was a Kings home game until Monk went to body Zubac. He almost pulled off one of the most insane dunks I've ever seen. He had no angle. He was on the
Yep.
baseline. He damn near almost like scraped the ball off the backboard trying to tomahawk it on Zubac. It would have been the dunk of the year. It would have been the dunk of the year. He didn't complete it. Go look it up on your own time if you can find it. I just wanted to get that out the way. But who do you have tonight? What are your thoughts on this game? How do you view this matchup?
Tonight I actually have the Kings. I think it's gonna be close, but I have the Kings. No CJ McCollum does matter. Obviously, I like the pairing of Brandon Ingram and Zion. Those are Brandon Ingram can get a bucket when you need to late, but I think the X factor you just mentioned him is Malik Monk. The Kings are a different team when he's rolling. Because that makes they bring it back to Kentucky as like their like that real potent backcourt that they have. Obviously, I'm glad they found Malik Monk and gave him a home because I always felt like he was such a talented shooter and scorer with athleticism. So I figured he would find a place in the league at some point. He finally has, which is great for him. But I like that. I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. It's going to be interesting to see Zion on some pick and rolls and see how he can defend De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, he's athletic, but De'Aaron's obviously just a different kind of speed. Like he's might be the fastest player in the league end to end. But so I lean the Kings a little bit, but I do think the Pelicans have obviously a great chance. They've played pretty well this season thus far. 11-10. So but obviously that is 3 games out of being the 2 seed. So it's not like they are really, it's not like they're really like out of it or something like that. Like they're 3 games away from being the 2 seed. They've played pretty solid this far.
See, just you saying that, I mean, we've discussed this the last couple times we brought up the tournament. I'm really worried about, like, yeah, we get the Christmas Day games coming, and those are normally competitive. Out of the five, at least 3
Mm-hmm.
should be competitive, or they're at least entertaining games because you get the best teams on, right? But I'm really worried
Yep.
about the stretch from January up until the All-Star break. And you just saying that right now, like we're still at the point in the season where everything's jumbled, where the standings really almost don't even matter, because you just said they're 11-10, but they're still 2 games out of the 2 seed. Uh,
Yeah, like the Warriors right now, just to kind of bolster your point, the Warriors right now are like 9-11, and I believe they are the 11th seed. But if they were to win like 3 games in a row right now, they could jump up to maybe the 8. And then if they were to win like 4 or 5 in a row, they could jump up to about the 5. Because right now they're 6.5 games back of the Timberwolves, and they're 3 games back of the 4 seed Kings. So like everything's so close that really the only teams who have put themselves out of it is absolutely the Spurs. And unless the Grizzlies do what the Hawks did a couple years back or what Miami did a couple years back, the Grizzlies are not looking too good. But they could sneak into a play in, and that's a tough play in, especially like if you're a 1 seed. Say the Timberwolves were to stay the 1 seed, them seeing the Grizzlies in the first round probably wouldn't be. That's not an
for
ideal
sure,
matchup.
for sure. So my point I was gonna make was, do you eventually move this tournament to January? Does this tournament, or not even move it, but does this tournament make more sense in January, where it's truly the middle of the season? You've got some standings out the way. Maybe you don't even need group play at that point. You could, I don't know, you could expand the tournament and make it whatever. You could make it almost league wide. Who knows how you want to do it? You could do it March Madness style. That doesn't, I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's all about scheduling. And the true reason,
Yeah.
again, why they wanted that weekend in December is, again, there's nothing going on there. There's no fights. The NFL is at a weird downtime. Whereas January, obviously, you'd be going head to head with the NFL playoffs, unless you did it like a Tuesday, Thursday thing, right? Have the tournament end on a Thursday. Then you don't even got to worry about the NFL postseason. Um, so it's really weird. I just,
I,
it's cool. It's great. And I cannot wait, especially like I said, we're getting LeBron and Durant, who we're going to talk about in a second here. We're getting that tomorrow. But it really feels like we're going to have this big build up and then this letdown for about a month and a half. Again, we'll have a Christmas
mm-hmm.
Day games, but after that, it's
I
like, are we really going to see that competitiveness stay, or what's it
so
going to be? Is it going to be more like last year, or is we're going to have a new vibe moving forward with the NBA? I'm skeptical.
so I think it'd be pretty cool if the tournament started on like the 27th and ended on New Year's Day. I was just thinking about it because before I said like maybe having it on Christmas, but I do like having the Christmas Day games. Like I like to know what that is first. So if you had it start on like the 27th, just so the people who play on Christmas Day, they don't have to play back to back. They can play the day after. So everyone like Christmas Day, you have your games. The next day, everybody's off, and then you have your tournament. I think that would be pretty cool. And then you have it maybe the 27th, the 29th, and then the 30th, and then possibly the 29th and the 31st, and then New Year's Day. I don't care if it's back to back. I really don't. Like, you could
Thing is,
figure it
they
out.
probably never do that
Like, they
because
should
of
be.
bowl season, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think that would be perfect timing though. Like
I agree
on New
with you.
Year's Day, you get like the New Year starts. You're 30 games into the season, so people are still going to play hard. So until that point, they're playing hard. So then, if there is a lull, it's really like 2.5, 3 weeks. It's not because like right now, you're right. If it's until Christmas Day and people are okay, and then afterwards it's until February, you're like, okay, that's like 2 months of basketball that doesn't really matter to people. But if you did it January 1st, and then went into just February, you'd have like a month of people come. But then at that point, you still have to semi matter about standings. Like they're almost halfway through the season.
I, gue- I
I would
guess, I
like it
mean, the
then.
one thing we can count on is right after the Christmas Day games, around that date, the 27th that you're talking about, John Morant will come back. Uh, People from injury will come back. Obviously, more people will be injured, but like CJ McCollum will be coming back. So maybe that'll give a shot in the arm to some teams. Certainly the Grizzlies, they're going to at least try to get into
Yeah,
playing. So, you'll have competitiveness there. Maybe we get some trades after Christmas. Who knows? Um, but sounds like what we have it at right now. So you got the Kings advancing, you get the Celtics advancing, and you got the Bucks advancing.
I have the Bucks. You have the Celtics, the
I'm gonna go with the
Kings, I
Kings. Yes,
believe, and then the
favor the
Knicks.
Knicks. Favor the
So we're
Knicks. If I
two.
a gun to
You
my head,
favor the Knicks.
Knicks. But I mean, just saying that, I'm like, it is Dame and Giannis in a playoff situation. But I
Giannis.
just can they play defense? What's everything else look like? So yeah, Knicks, Celtics, and now let's move on to this Suns Lakers game. It's gonna be in LA. Durant has looked better than good this year. Durant, man. Doesn't matter what team he's on, doesn't matter who he's playing with. He's just Kevin Durant all the time. He's just gonna put the ball in the hole. He's just gonna. I mean, he makes plays too. He's been rebounding well. Like he's truly having one of his finest seasons right now. Even that year, 15 for him. Uh,
I would say this is his best season ever, or may best season since probably his MVP season. His first year in Brooklyn was really good. He was 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So like that was close, or six, yeah, 7 and 6. So that was there, but he was 32, 7 and 5.5 because that was when Westbrook went down his MVP season, and that was a really good year. Obviously, I deep dive into that one, but he's 31, 6 and 6 right now. He's shooting 49% from three. Like a 50-40-90 season, he could have back-to-back 50-40-90s, but last year really doesn't fully, I guess, count, depending. Oh, no, it does. Not really, because he had 47 games. So, like, they probably wouldn't fully count it because of the number of games. So he might be able to eclipse, like, his first true 50-40-90 this season.
Indeed, indeed. And look, the Lakers have
Yep.
beat the Suns, I believe, twice. I believe they played twice this year.
Oh, wait, no, he's done it one time. Sorry. I'm looking right now. He has done it one time, so he'd be able to eclipse his second one. He did it in 2012, 2013, 51,
Hmm.
41, 90.
No, I was just gonna say, I believe the Lakers have beat the Suns twice, so you give them an advantage there. Uh, Thing is, of course, with the Lakers, what Anthony Davis are you getting? Are you getting locked in Anthony Davis? Are you getting? I'm just a regular power forward. I don't even like playing center. Anthony Davis, who, I mean, look, he talked a lot about the Nuggets going into opening night. Got his lunch handed to him by Jokic. Like he didn't even bother to show up. A little bit of James Harden esque. And then what? A week or two ago, I
Yep.
think it was last week, Embiid just overpowered him. Like he just can't be bothered. And then Anthony Davis will say things like, "We got Christian Wood who plays center, da da da. I don't have to play center as much." Like I just don't understand it with him. This is someone who we thought could one day be the best player in the league. Obviously, he won't be that. Obviously, he can at least be a top 10 guy, but it just seems like you never really know night to night. And I thought he was going to take another leap this year. Not a leap, but be more locked in. Be more like the Anthony Davis we saw in the playoffs last season. But it hasn't been that. It's been, whenever he wants to show up. I'm assuming tomorrow night will be a night he chooses to show up. But will he actually? That's the question. So who do you have winning tomorrow
Yeah.
night's game in the showdown of the Hall of Famers?
One thing I want to quickly say there was a stretch from 2016, 2017 to 2019, 2020, his first year with the Lakers, but especially like that year before where we were talking about him. It was like, who's going to be the best player in the league? Is it going to be, once LeBron goes, is it going to be Giannis? Is it going to be AD? Those are the two. Because it was like, okay, these guys are both 6'10", 6'11", athletic, can be the best defender on the floor any given night, but also be the best offensive player on the floor any given night. And people would give the edge to Anthony Davis. Why? Because he had a mid-range jump shot, a little bit more handle, a little bit more like game to him. Obviously, Giannis is more dominant, but he has a little bit more game. And then obviously we know now Giannis is in a top 3 conversation for a player in the league. And AD is trying to get in the top 10. Like he probably is, but like you could convince me he's not just because of the consistency of him. I'm leaning Suns. I think I'm going Suns here. Obviously, the Lakers have been playing pretty decent as of late. So have the Suns. I just think with Booker and Durant in this AAU setting, as I said prior, this just feels like a spot where like Booker and Durant almost have dual 40s. Like it just feels like, or maybe like dual 35s. It just feels like they're like, okay, is it your turn, my turn? They get hot, and the way Durant's been playing, I lean the Suns.
Real quick to your point about Anthony Davis, I was thinking the other day. I remember in the championship game, like the college championship game that they won when he was at Kentucky. I remember he wasn't having a good game scoring wise, and I remember they like reported coming out of halftime. They were like Anthony Davis said in the locker room, he said in the huddle maybe, I forget what it was, but he said in the huddle, my shot's not going tonight. Y'all play offense. I'll take care of everything else, kind of thing. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, where's that player now? It seems like if his offense isn't there, he's just all the way out of games. You know what I mean? You don't see games where he's like, okay, maybe he's only got 12 points, but he's got 15 boards and 2 blocks, 3 blocks of steal, something like that. He doesn't impact the game when his offense isn't there.
He had a stretch like that in the playoffs, though, where he did, like, where he was the best defender in the playoffs for like a 2.5, 3-week stint, where it was just like, regardless of whatever the offense was, I'm getting you about 2 steals, 3 to 4 blocks. It felt 10 rebounds, and I'm disrupting about.
He was scary last
shots,
year in the playoffs.
It's not going to see.
He was amazing to watch.
He was, and it was like, hey, if you can do that defensively and just give us 23, 24, that's all. Like he's not going to be any longer. He's not going to be the highest scorer and the best scorer on a championship team, in my opinion. Like for some reason, he's just not consistent enough. Like he has the talent to, but for some reason, he's just not. And that's fine. He doesn't have to be. But what he needs to be is the best defender in the league because he easily can. Like it's not even like he easily just can. When he's locked in, he's the best defender in the league just because of how he is. Like we've seen it. Like last year, the Golden State would try to get to the basket, and like Steph would just be like, and we know how Steph can finish around the basket, like high floaters. Like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring it back out. Just wouldn't shoot. Draymond wouldn't go up with it, but I mean that's Draymond.
I don't think Draymond would go up for a layup against me.
No, that's fair. But like they just weren't getting to the basket like at all. So they only would get to the basket on breaks or when Anthony Davis was taking a break. Because they're like, okay, we can get to the paint now. Like it's crazy. Which also what we're scared about with Wemby too when he gets.
Oh, he's already at that point. I mean, he's already.
No. I mean, like when he's a little bit more laterally quick, it's gonna be like when he can really guard a wing out on the 3, or when he can just check a guard on the 3-point line. Like he gets blocks out there just because he's long. when he knows what he's doing officially and like gets that extra quickness, that that's elite.
I
That's
think he's already there. Like on a even on ball defensively, I think he's already shown like you're saying he's gonna gain
he,
athleticism, but even now, just going off instincts, he's pretty damn scary on the court. Uh,
Kyle, I
sure,
do have a question for you. Random one, a little sidebar, but if we were still doing our series, would Wemby
absolutely.
go?
Come on
Do you
now,
think we'd draft
of
him?
course.
I think we're drafting him. Okay, I'm just making because I
He's
know like
7'5".
young rookies, like we didn't always. Yeah, I think we'd have to at that point. I think we'd have to. And if you were rating him right now, 2K wise, what would you put his overall at? Random question. Then we can go back.
2K is actually pretty good with their ratings. I'd probably put Wemby at an 85.
80, I was thinking 85, 86 possibly, just because obviously the offensive game isn't polished, but the defensive game, like it's already at a 95.
Wemby,
He can get to a 90, and he can get to a 99. Like he's at a 95 right
Wemby is
now.
scary. Yeah, back to AD though. I mean, it's weird. Speaking of someone like Wemby, we'll get to see, and we probably have seen. I mean, my memory comes and goes here, but I think they played the Lakers already, so we have seen Anthony Davis and Giannis guard Wemby. But my point here, those are two players, Giannis and Anthony Davis, who were like, if you were in a lab and you're like, build me someone to guard Kevin Durant, it's those two, and we don't nearly get that matchup enough. And I understand it in Durant's case because he usually does have a big, at least maybe that AD will have to keep honest. Uh, and maybe even Giannis
Yep.
too. But I feel like those are two players literally made to guard Kevin Durant, and we just never see that. Uh, I just don't understand it. But as far as this game goes,
Yeah.
the Lakers have beat the Suns twice. Feels like the Suns won't go 0-3 against him. Even if this game is in LA, you'd figure they get one of them here early, even though they got more games coming against them, being divisional rivals. This one's
Yep.
really hard for me because, I would favor the Lakers in general, but I also feel like the Lakers are still kind of like the Bucks right now, where they're finding things out. They don't really know their five yet. They're still trying to find that fifth guy to go with LeBron, Reeves, AD. Who's the other guy they're playing right now? Who's their fourth in that rotation? Yeah,
D'Angelo.
they have been playing D'Angelo a
You thinking
bit
D'Angelo?
because last year was
Oh,
Rui. So yeah, they're kind of trying to find 4 and 5, I guess, right now. But yeah, D'Angelo would be in that mix too. So they're still kind of figuring things out. Whereas the Suns at least know they're 6 or 7 right now. So maybe I do favor the Suns there.
yeah.
I'm really actually having trouble trying to cap it, honestly. I think I'll go with you though. I think I'm gonna go with the Suns. So I think we're gonna get Suns Kings.
Kings, which
Either one of those versus the
will
Kings.
be a
I hope we get
barrage.
either one of those versus the Kings. You can't go wrong with Suns or Lakers versus Kings. I
Yeah.
just hope the Kings win. And then, yeah, I believe we're getting Celtics Knicks. So you can't go wrong with either one of those matchups. And then if the Knicks don't make it,
No, not at
again, we're
all.
all assuming here that the Celtics just do their thing and win tonight. If, the Knicks don't make it and we get the
Yeah.
Bucks, can't go wrong with either of those. So those are our final four. Celtics Knicks for me. Kings Suns for me. Keenan's got Kings Suns. Celtics Bucks. Keenan, give me 3 bold predictions for this tournament.
Bold predictions
If
for
you
this
have them.
tournament. I kind of said one. The little. I think that dual 40s
Okay,
from Booker and
that's a good one.
KD.
That's a good
I'm
one.
going with that. Dual 40s from those two, because obviously I can't remember dual 40s since Game 5 of the finals. It probably has happened, but like the last time I can remember the Game 5, 2016, by the way, if people who didn't know that offhand, with Kyrie and LeBron going with 41. But I can't remember it since Game 5. So that would be one prediction. It may or might not be bold. I think Dame has like a 36 footer for the win today. Like a true like Paul George-esque kind of 36 winner for the win. And that's tomorrow, actually, I think.
So he
And
brings back
then
the Paul George. Okay.
he brings back like the Paul George, and it's gonna be over RJ Barrett.
Okay. All right.
I got it over RJ Barrett, and it may not be exactly that like sidestep, but it's gonna be something along the lines where Dame pulls up from about 35 and hits a three for the win. That's 2, and then 3. Halliburton. I don't think he can get that. I wanted
No,
to,
go ahead.
but I
Go
don't
ahead.
think he can get it.
Let's hear it.
Oh, I was gonna say he has a 30 and 20.
I mean, he's been close to those.
Oh. He's been close. I think you know what? Him going Halliburton 30 and 20 against the Celtics team that can play defense. That's against Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason. I'm going. You know what? It's a bold prediction. I'm doing it. Go 30 and 20 for Halliburton. And so for people who are viewing this, they will know if Halliburton already went for 30 and 20. The other two they actually get to see and get to listen and then see. But 30 and 20 for Halliburton.
I'm going to say double OT in Suns Lakers. That's one.
Ooh. Game winner?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But
we're getting
double
just
OT
Suns,
tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll say there's a couple places I want to go. Part of me wants to say Giannis has a terrible game tomorrow, but I don't want to limit it to just quarterfinal predictions here. I want to make one for the actual tournament part, or the actual knockout round part, I guess you could say, or just secluded site. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll say Giannis is 8 points tomorrow. Actually, no. I'll go a little. I'll give me some wiggle room here. Giannis will have 15 or less tomorrow.
I was about to say he has a LeBron James game.
So
4.
Giannis, we're gonna go Giannis 15 or less. We're gonna go double OT classic for the Suns and the Lakers, and then keep it fun here. And I guess we will keep it quarterfinal. It doesn't have to be quarterfinal. This can be general. I feel like Zion does not have a signature dunk yet. He's been in the league far too long, and we still don't have that one dunk from Zion. Like he should have had like 5 or 6 or 20 by now, honestly. Like Ja Morant has a collection.
Yeah, he's got one that's really nice.
There you go.
Think
you
of
just
it.
said
Like,
I can't think of it. So it's not.
So I
mean, he had a windmill. He had a windmill earlier this year. That's like the coolest one I can think of. So I'm gonna say
no. There was one like 3 years ago where he got up for. Oh yes, it was the one against the Kings. He had one against the Kings where he went and flew. That was the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that one right there. He had I'm watching it right now. He basically sidestepped right, went left, and then just rose up and punched on somebody. And it was really nice, but it wasn't like where you're like, did you see what Ja did? And Zion should have 4.
He should have
by now at least
double digits at least. Ja has plays like that weekly. We would have figured Zion does. So I'm going to say we get a generational Zion highlight. Whether it's a dunk, whether it's a block, whether it's anything, Zion should have that by now. We finally get to see him. Because I don't believe
he has a block where he touches the top of the glass.
Maybe so. Maybe so. We're going to get something from Zion. So that's my third prediction.
It feels like a Giannis thing to do. Like, I think one of my bold predictions might be Giannis blocks the ball over the backboard. And I don't mean like he just blocks and it goes over. I mean like he reaches high enough to where the ball goes over the backboard.
That'd be pretty funny.
Which would be crazy. It'd be one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
That's something literally tailor-made for Wemby to do, given his height and his freakish wingspan.
It really is. I bet he might. Like that might be something that he actually does. All right, so we talked in-season tournament. Is there anything else you want to mention?
I have 2 questions. I still have 2 questions for you.
Okay, never mind.
Who would be your sleeper? Who's someone who you think can just creep up and just win it?
The Pacers would be, because I think they can just put up points. The Pacers would be interesting. They seem, obviously they're well coached, as I was talking about prior, and they can just put up points. So they would be my sleeper team to win it all. Because especially if they get by the Celtics, which I honestly think could be their toughest match out of every match. The Bucks, as we said, have been struggling defensively. The Knicks play good defense, but they don't put up points like that. So they could get to a point where they might be able to win a 106 to 100 game against the Knicks because they don't put up points. And any team like the Kings don't play defense really. The Suns don't really play defense. The Pelicans can, and then the Lakers might be the best defensive team out of that whole entire side, but they should be able to score on them. So the Pacers, if they get by tonight, the Pacers are definitely like a dark horse to win it. Tonight will be their biggest test, in my opinion. Obviously, the moment will be higher on Saturday or Thursday, depending where they
My
are.
sleeper would be the Kings. Really for the same reasons you illustrated for the Pacers. I think they're a potent offense, but they're seasoned, right? Like I said, they had that 7-game series with the Warriors.
Yep.
Okay. They're young, they're hungry. They just got that chip on their shoulder this year. Like they don't play the defense for it yet, but man, they compete. They got some dogs over there. I love like their top 8. You can kind of rotate them out however you want. They got that new, I forget his name right now, but they got that new foreign guy from overseas. He plays well. He shoots it well. It reminds me a little bit of Joe Ingles. I really like their squad, and I wouldn't be shocked if they found their way to the Final Four, found their way to the final, and just snuck in and won it. I think they're well coached. I think they have everything to win it, but the defense. But I mean, hey, this is the time in season where you might not necessarily need the defense all 3 quarters. I mean, you could say I'm making the same case for the Bucks here, given that they got Giannis and Dame, but I do think the Kings are deeper than the Bucks. Bucks have depth issues. So
And they're not, and also for in your sake, they're not playing as seasoned as a team. Like the Knicks are a truly seasoned team. The Pelicans are a team that they have the talent to be, but Zion, the core of them with Zion and Brandon Ingram hasn't played a meaningful game.
And they've at least had their core. It's just been Zion injuries, and right now I think I don't know if Alvarado's back, but they've been banged up early this year anyway. So the Kings, to me, they're ripe to be a sleeper pick. Again, we each have them winning tonight. Who's your favorite?
Favorite would be the Suns, personally. I think the Suns and the Celtics are co-favorites to me. I don't know. There's just something about this style of tournament where it's like, hey, score, like this is a one and done situation. They just feel like the best AAU team on the block. And it really is like, okay, Kevin Durant, can you summon, or Devin Booker, can you summon a performance here? And then you go summon a performance. Like, think about, like, if you're going into an AAU weekend, obviously you've coached, you've played. Like, this just feels like the team where you got to look like that team right there. Like, they can just score at any point. They can have the 2 best players on the court. And it's like, okay. Like, obviously in a series, it's obviously more difficult because you have more strategy, more time to game plan. You kind of work around home and away. Even though they're on the road, it's just like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker could be the best players on every court they step on throughout the playoffs or throughout this in-season tournament.
That's a good point.
So that's why I'm favoring, and they're co-favorites with the Celtics. It's just because the Celtics are just such a great team, and then the Suns just have such a high potential, especially in a 2-3 game window.
It's a very good point, Keenan. I will say this. If I was coaching an AAU team or playing an AAU team and I looked on the other end of the court and I had to face LeBron, that would be the scariest AAU team, regardless if I got to face 38-year-old or 39-year-old LeBron in the AAU setting. But
and see, this is why he always scares me in the playoffs, because like he's still playing at this level, and you look on the other side, you're like the same way when Tom was in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, you're like, God, that's Tom. like that's still Tom. He's 41, and that's still
Thomas
Tom.
Edward Patrick Brady.
Like, what are we like? It's just Junior. Don't forget the Junior.
I'll say this. I kind of agree with you. It's almost going to sound like I have 3 favorites here, but I don't. Okay, hold on. Had to get that burp out the way. Yeah. Good old Cuban cuisine right there. But
you're good.
I would kind of have the Lakers and Celtics as co-favorites. But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Lakers are only a 2-point favorite over Phoenix. And I'm going to wrap this up here. They both are not far from Vegas. So regardless of who makes it out of that game, whether it's LA or Phoenix, you kind of have to give them favorites because it's almost like a home court advantage for them in Vegas this weekend. They don't have to travel far at all. It'll be like a hour flight for them. Damn near. And the
And the
Kings.
Kings,
And the
and
Kings.
doesn't say not the same.
And
The
the
Kings
Kings
are
too.
close
But
to.
obviously they're not as potent as the Suns and the Lakers right now. So they're so I
Of
mean,
course.
same reason why I had a hard time picking just the Lakers, Suns in general. I think they're pretty even teams. I don't think the Lakers know who they are yet, but it's still LeBron and it's still AD. Like we talk about AD, what does get him going? Apparently the playoffs last year did at least get him going, like you said. So you still have to factor that in.
And they don't have a true big to worry about. Like
Yeah.
Nurkic is cool, but he's not like a Jokic, like an Embiid. Like he's not that level of big, and obviously he's not featured on that team. He's gonna get his touches because, of course, you need to get touches to him to keep him engaged. But like he can play his true four
Let me
if he wants to. Like he can play his four.
let me
And
tell
be
you this.
okay.
If all teams were healthy right now, this is going to sound like such a fucking cop out because it really does. What I'm about to say really is going to sound like I'm giving you three favorites, but I promise I'm not. If all teams were fully healthy, I would say the Celtics because I think they have the best roster top to bottom. I do. Um,
Yes, they do.
and even without him,
I
you're
agree.
basically looking at the Celtics of last year with Drew Holiday, which is an upgrade. So I still, damn. All right. So if I had to pick
Yep.
one, I'll give my alternate answer after. But if I had to pick one, I guess still the Celtics because of the continuity, right? But
Yep.
whoever comes
Fair
out
enough.
of that game tomorrow, whether it's the Celtics or sorry, the Suns or the Lakers, you do have to give them some sort of advantage for home court, even though there's rest days in between. But I feel like that should be valued for something, given how short of a flight that is for them, how short of the travel it is for them. But even then, the Suns,
And you're naturally gonna have, maybe not in the Suns case as much, but especially in the Lakers case, you're gonna have a bunch of
yeah,
fans there. Not that you're not gonna have fans of, say, the Celtics or
but you're gonna have
whatever
more
team is
fans
there
there from.
that you're playing, or
No,
the
yeah,
Kings
absolutely.
even. Like you're just gonna naturally have more fans because one, it's a closer drive or a closer flight for people to travel from LA. It's the first season tournament, and obviously the Lakers brand is as big as any brand throughout all sports. So like you're naturally gonna have fans of that team, and you have LeBron, who is as big as a mogul in any of all sports. So like that alone, you're gonna get a lot of fans. So you can almost feel like a Lakers home game. The Suns not as much, but obviously Durant's huge, Devin Booker's huge.
Yeah,
Close fight
whichever
against.
team makes it out of those two is going to have the biggest fan bases there, I would think. And then maybe Sacramento, who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to have more Suns and Lakers fans depending on who gets out. So um, I would say Celtics and Lakers as co-favorites, slight edge to the C's. But and then I would say you got to give that same advantage to the Suns if they in fact make it out. But so I guess really if you cap it, I
Yep.
guess you could say the Celtics would be my favorite, but I don't know. I think it's pretty even between that top three, honestly. But the Celtics probably have the most continuity. Um, I still don't trust them in a big game. This is obviously different from true playoffs, but that's exactly what we're about to find out is, how do players react? How, like, what's it all going to look like? Will Jaylen Brown play a little better than he did last year? We get to find out some of these playoff answers.
I think the addition of
Yeah.
Drew Holiday makes so, like, I think Derek White feels like he's now a consistent. Like last year, he like stepped into that position. He was consistent throughout the entire playoffs, but now he feels like an established consistency where they're like, okay, we count on Derek White. Last year, he felt like obviously they needed him, but it didn't feel like he was like a true part of their core. Like I think he's a true
I
piece
mean,
of the
he was
core
definitely a
now.
true
And I
he was
don't know if
definitely a
that
true
makes
part of their core
if that
last
makes
year.
sense to you. Like he
I
was a
mean,
part of.
he's the only thing that's happened is
Like I
that
don't I
they
don't know how
removed
to
they removed
explain it,
Marcus
but like
Smart from the situation and really showed him like, hey, yo, this is you now. This is you and Drew. So I get what you're saying there.
yeah, so I guess that's what I'm saying. Like that's what like, but obviously he was a piece of like what they. He was the best player in the Heat
Yeah,
series for them,
yeah. He was
front to back.
oftentimes
Like he was
he
a soup. Like he
he
was
was
really
oftentimes
important.
their second or third best player throughout the year. I would say most times out of the year he was probably their third best player
Yeah,
last year. Uh, and yeah, him and Drew
yeah,
Holiday can just absolutely take guards out of the game. So Yeah, just you know what? Just yeah, no, it's got to be the Celtics. Just thinking about their schedule, you're gonna have the Bucks, who they've pretty much dominated this year, and they're gonna have the Knicks, who is a tough
Yep.
matchup for them. Don't get me wrong, but you'd still give the talent edge to the Celtics. So I'd say overall the Celtics, but one B being probably the Lakers. But we'll see. That game's a toss up tomorrow to me. Uh,
Okay.
any other predictions?
Yeah.
Anything else regarding the tournament? I have a lot.
I don't have anything else really regarding the tournament. Honestly, I'm just really excited to see
I
it
can't wait.
unfold.
We're a half hour away
The
too.
Suns and Lakers. That felt like the conference. That feels like a conference championship game, and that's the
Can't wait.
first round. And then so like that's what that feels like. And then I hope, I really hope it's Bucks Celtics, and it's just for the fact that like the Bucks need to get their get back, I guess, in the sense, and not like it's definitive, like this is the end all be all, but like the last time we saw Boston and Milwaukee play, it was the game was closer than you would expect in the end, but Boston dominated that entire game. It's just that Dame got hot late and made that game close, but it wasn't like you saw a clear separation between offense, and then you just the greatness of one singular player, and then Giannis playing well down the stretch too. Like your two of the 10 best players in the league managed to pull a game closer, but
So the
there's a
Suns are your
separation.
favorite. Are they your champ? What?
Yes, Sun Celtics. Before I predicted Sun Celtics prior to the year starting, and I think it's going to be Sun Celtics, and the Suns will beat the Celtics in a
I
thriller.
think I had the same exact final, and I think I'm pretty positive I picked the Suns.
You did.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my final. We had the same
We
exact.
did. We had the same exact one. We had the
We'll
same
keep it the
exact.
same. I
We
got
had
the
the same
Celtics
exact one.
definitely going through. I'm gonna say, damn. No, I already picked the Suns.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, yo, I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip. I'm flipping it. I'm flipping it. Even though I really like the Suns and I want the Suns to
Okay.
win, I'm gonna pick the Lakers. We're gonna get Lakers Kings. We're gonna get Celtics Lakers in the final, and I'm gonna
Hey,
pick.
that's
I'm gonna
great
pick
TV.
against the Celtics and say the Lakers win that.
I also said before, like I have the Suns, like I'm definitive on having the Suns, but this feels, and I think I said this while in our NBA prediction pod. This feels like something LeBron wants to win. Like, and I mean like hit on his resume being like the first ever in season champion and the MVP of the in season champion. Like that just feels like something LeBron like really wants. I don't know. I don't really know. Obviously, don't know LeBron, but just knowing how he is and how his narrative and how his legacy is looked at, he doesn't have many more pillars to get other than just adding championships. Like adding another MVP doesn't really do much for him. Like he gets to 5 and ties Mike, which is cool, but like again, you could have given it to him in many years. So like that's cool and it like helps, I guess. But like I feel like LeBron's the type to be like, well, in the GOAT argument, I was the first in season championship, as if Mike had a chance to be the in season champion. I don't know. I just feel like that's how LeBron thinks, and I think this would be he really would like
You ready for
will want
this?
this.
Double flip.
Yeah.
I'm flipping again. I just looked up Porzingis. They're hopeful he's gonna miss tonight, but they're hopeful he comes back this week. If that's the case, I'm picking
Yep.
the Celtics of Boston. So
The Celtics.
score one for the home
Okay.
team, I guess. I guess still over the Lakers too. I sound super confident right now in my picks, don't I? So now it's gonna be Celtics over the Lakers with Porzingis. That's my picks.
Yeah.
Keenan, I have a
Okay.
lot more NBA I do want to talk
Fine with
about.
it.
Hopefully, we'll get to talk about that with our boy Camden Dennis soon. I especially want to talk about
Yeah.
the Warriors and their lulls.
Maybe next. Oh, I do too. But maybe next week at some point, because obviously the in season tournament will be over, so we'll want to discuss that regardless, and maybe
It's
that can
possible.
lead into some
It's possible.
basketball,
I know Brandon
possibly.
Petty's coming on soon and
Yep.
wants to have a discussion. We got to get some fantasy drafts in soon as well. Continue that series. That's all topics for another day. I will say this: I am eager to
Yep.
talk about the best rivalry in the NBA, and that is Chris Paul versus Scott Foster, because I did not realize it was that deep. It birthed from something that it birthed
It
from
is.
something that we all thought
It
was
is.
maybe a coincidence to something that turned out to be very real. And I genuinely wonder how the NBA will handle that. But that's got to be a conversation for another day because,
That's a 30-minute conversation if
It
you
is
wanted
because
to.
it'll bleed back into
Like there's a
the vice principal commissioner of the league, and that is Adam Silver, who continues to just be a vice principal. But hey, he's done well with this tournament. I won't talk shit about him too much, but hey, he's also very much.
he's innovative and he's done well to help. He's done well to help push the NBA forward, but in the disciplinary aspects of it, yeah, it's like as it says, you playing basketball. It's like that assistant coach that's great. Like you love him. Like he just comes in, he gives you all the. He's just your favorite guy to hang out with. He's really nice. He's a player's guy, but the head coach that like lays down the law, he's just
Yeah, I
not
mean,
that. And he kind of needs to
discipline.
be
He's not. He
that.
doesn't do well at. He doesn't force the players to do their job, and that's play. I mean, that should not be an issue. And I mean, look, there's numerous things. AllStar Weekend, I believe Stern, he would have fixed that somehow. I mean, he's catered to the players in every way that were supposed to make load management not a thing. Like he got rid of. I mean, there's still back to backs, but there's not as many back to backs. There's not as many 4 games and 5 nights. You even get a vacation after All Star break. That whole entire week you get off. He's done a lot to cater to players, even as far as player movement and such. And still, it's backfired on the product as a whole. We still love the NBA, but there was a time, genuinely, this is going to sound crazy. Maybe not that it would have overtook the NFL, but it definitely seemed like it could have been the 1B or even seemed like a 1B at one point. Yeah, LeBron
2012
on the Heat.
ish.
Yeah,
You talking about LeBron Heat time? That was like you could walk out of your house and find yourself in NBA conversations with casuals. Like obviously you can find yourself in NBA conversations with people who follow and watch the NBA. Of course, it's the NBA. But like with just the casual fan, you could find yourself in conversation. And that's how you could do it with the NFL. People don't really watch the NFL, but you could find yourself in a conversation because I watch 15 minutes of
everybody
ESPN
watches the
like,
NFL.
"Oh, the Chiefs aren't as good." Yeah, I was gonna say the Chiefs aren't as good this year, blah blah, like whatever, like just having a random conversation. And you could find that with like, oh man, the Bulls are going to be better than the Heat this year. LeBron sucks. Like the Heat really aren't that great. They go on their 26-game win streak. You're like, man, no one can touch the Heat. Are they the greatest team of all time? Like, not that actually these things, but people obviously fabricate and go, like, they over exaggerate. But like, you can just find yourself in those conversations. It's really hard to find yourself in like a conversation unless someone like Dame drops 70. And you're like, oh, well, did you see Dame had 70 last night? It's like,
I
oh,
think what
wow, yeah.
sucks, even though the league
That's
is
people too.
great and there's great players and there's fun players, and even right now,
It's as
yeah,
talented as ever. It's as
absolutely right.
talented as
And we're
ever.
about 6 to 7 weeks into the season, and what I would say about this league, though we love it, though like you said, it's rich with talent, it's as deep as it's ever been. You talked about last podcast how you sound old reminiscing about 10 years ago in music. We'll always sound old talking about 10 years ago in sports, but this is one thing that's true about the NBA, and I find myself thinking this a lot. It's turned into the league that even like 20 years ago, you'd hear older people say, all the old heads say, like, oh, the league isn't the same. It's soft. It's this or that. It really is that league now where they do ignore traveling. They've always ignored traveling in the NBA. It gets gradually worse every 5 years. It's truly as soft as what older people were saying 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
However soft they called it, it is that now. You see it with the technicals all the time with the refs. Refs like are as bad, and this is no joke. This is not even an exaggeration at all. They have the tolerance of high school refs, where high school refs never want the game to get out of hand, so they'll tee up kids quickly. That's what the NBA has been like for at least the last 3 years, at least. And it was trending that way 10 years ago. So between the refs, between the players not wanting to play, between, again, going to sound hella old here, but the traveling that occasionally gets ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
but it is really becoming the league that, the people who want to knock it and maybe hadn't watched since the 80s or 90s, what they say the league is or was, it really is that now to some degree. To some degree, there is a lot of great with this league, but tough, it is not. It is
No.
not a tough league. It is not a league that's necessarily easy to follow either, which it might not have been always. And we've talked about that with the player movement and such. But yeah,
But
it's not a great product. I can't give you that as
no.
an NBA fan. It doesn't stand in comparison to me to the NFL or even the UFC as a product,
Hmm.
just as a product.
And even as I say, even
But the players are
sometimes
great.
the MLB is
Player,
nice, but like I mean, not that it's up to the NBA, but the MLB can be, but also the MLB has things that they need to solve. But
yeah, the MLB is a terrible product.
soccer is really good. Soccer's a really good product. Just depends on like obviously has like their own core fan base, but I like the soccer product personally, unless it's
I
changed a
mean,
lot over the
you know,
last like
that's
4 or 5 years,
they
and
have
I don't
different
know
leagues.
about that if it
You know,
has.
there's a lot of different leagues, and that's fully international. So it's like, you know, you can be fans of several different leagues, whereas the NBA, it's just the NBA. And soccer culture is soccer
Of
culture.
course.
And I think I brought this up in an earlier podcast. The NBA's adopted, and it's kind of stunted for a little bit, but I'm sure it'll pick back up. But the NBA's adopted international soccer as far as stars moving. Stars move all the time in international soccer. So I
Hmm.
think their culture, for the most part, has stayed the same, at least over the last 10 years. I couldn't speak to the last 20, 30 years. Um, but soccer, I mean, that's much international soccer, you know, especially European soccer. Really, yeah, any international. That's you compare that to the NFL. That level of fandom is much like the NFL, where it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous,
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
They're crazy. They really turn fans to fanatics. Like
Absolutely.
they're
So,
crazy.
uh,
But
you know, soccer will never
uh
die. The NFL will never die, and I don't think the
oh
NBA will
no,
die either.
no.
It's just gone from something that's a 1B to a clear number two in the U.S. and just looks second rate compared to the NFL. And the UFC has its flaws, but man, what a product it is! They continuously, year after year after year, just put out an amazing product. I won't say it's akin to the NFL because obviously they don't have the stars that the NFL does, and the NFL doesn't even really need
They
stars,
don't.
weirdly. But definitely a great product and definitely better run than the NBA in some ways. In some ways, the NBA is obviously
That's
better, but
fair.
that's a
And
different
a lot
conversation.
of I was I liked a lot of what you said of course, but like with the NBA, the thing that gets me, you're right. Obviously, the player movement it's as soft as it's ever been. Like I understand you wanted a free flowing game, and I mean you could attest this kind of to the Malice in the Palace. Not that it's specifically that, but like that was another. I mean that was a big thing it started to move towards, and it's just kept going and going too much. The game, I think it was perfect in about 2010. You eliminated some of the unnecessary fouls, so things would become flagrant. I'm fine with the Kawhi foul. I'm fine with that being a flagrant, or I'm okay with it because I understand you want shooters to land in their space, and it's really unfortunate if you go up, especially with how many people shoot threes. So I'm okay with that aspect of it, but there's just so much of it. Like if there's a poster, I want them to stare down the other person. Like, could you imagine on Sean Campbell Routes and Lister his point? That's a technical today. Are you kidding? Like, obviously,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. That probably should have been a technical then, but they just let it go for
to
whatever
me,
reason. But there's other stuff
to
that
me
they
that shouldn't have
definitely
been.
like that one's excessive. That one's excessive. But it's like no one cares. No one like we all love it. Actually, you know what? If anybody deserved a technical after a dunk, it was Shaq when he
No,
shoved Chris Dudley
see
after dunking on him. That is
that
the most
that's a
disrespectful dunk
technical,
ever.
and like
But and they
if
didn't
you
even
want
tee him
Scottie
up then.
Pippen
Like
over
it's
Ewing,
just
if
gone
you
too
want to
far.
say I don't even feel like that should be personally, but like kind of when he pushes him down and they get like to a pushing match, if you wanted to say like that aspect of it, cool. Kevin Johnson sitting on someone's shoulder after a after a punch and chilling on Hakeem's shoulders, like he just waited there for like 3 seconds. Didn't have to, but he did. Like this, like that's the stuff. Like, but I don't want to see Malik Monk baptize somebody. Just look at him. Like, what do you think you're doing? Technical. Like, that's not cool. Like, that just stops the flow
It's
of the
terrible.
game. And for people on the other team, it's always a good point. Like, you see it all the time. You used to always see it all the time. It was like after a big dunk, people are celebrating. Go get a quick bucket. Like you can get a quick bucket off of that because people are still trying to celebrate, so you get advantages already, which is the basketball advantage. So really, you're almost hurting. I mean, you're getting him 2 point or a point in the ball if you make the free throw, but you're almost hurting. You're hurting the flow of the game, and then challenges just take way too long. Like it shouldn't take. If I can see on 3 replays or 2 replays, like you give me this angle, you give me this angle, you give me this angle, I know what happened. That's it. And then I understand you have to figure out, okay, well, what was the time? Okay, a shot clock situation. But all of that should take like 2 minutes. Or maybe like the
It should
NFL
not
does
take
have
as
people in
long.
like New York. Like sometimes they just have New York do it already.
Well, they do. They have people. They have people in Secaucus, New Jersey.
They
It just
did.
still takes them forever to make any decisions. I really don't want to. I don't want to do this because we spent the first what we've been
Buck
recording here
17 roughly.
for where we at over an hour. I spent probably at least 50 minutes of that praising and talking about what the league's done right, and the league, as we've mentioned time and time again, has more warts than ever for sure. But are looking and we'll find out very soon within the next 10 minutes, are looking like they might have corrected some of those warts, might have healed some of those warts, maybe. We'll find out. We'll find out in the next few weeks. But I do have to agree with you on the challenge. The challenges are ridiculous, and I disagree with you on the Kawhi step foul. Just because now every challenge, every contested attempt, which is a part of basketball, is being
That
looked
should
at for a
the
flagrant.
flopping rule is
Every
also
bump,
one of the worst
every
things I've
single
ever
bump.
seen in my entire life. The flopping rule,
Which
I
one?
just think like I hate it. I just think that I understand why you're doing it because you're trying to get rid of flopping, so like everything's a technical, and you'd think it would do. I just hate like sometimes things aren't flops and it is, so it's gonna be hard to differentiate between it. But I guess you'll get over it after a while. But I don't like it. I personally don't.
Here's my thing with it. I don't mind it. My thing is they tried to institute that 5-6 years ago. More than that, it was when Lance Stevenson
Yep,
was, popular in the league,
2014
in the
roughly.
mainstream. They were doing it then, stopped. They just never follow through with the stuff that they try to enforce. They tried it with traveling, and they'll stop within a month or two. They're never consistent, and the refs are softer than ever, which leads you to a soft product because not all these players are soft. And again, I don't want to bash the NBA because they're doing a lot right now. I was very
Yep,
skeptical of the
same.
in-season tournament, and I like it, and I might end up loving it by the end of tonight. Who knows? Um, so just to wrap this up once again, because we got to do part two with the NFL here. Uh, who is your champion? Is the Suns? My
Kevin
champion
Durant.
is the Celtics. Uh, can't wait to see. Can't wait to see. Can't wait to talk more about this. We'll get to touch on this on Thursday after the first game, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what this all looks like. Can't wait to see how the players, how seriously they take it. They've taken the playing game seriously so far. The group
Yeah, that
play
Kings
games, I
Warriors
should
game
say.
was crazy. I don't
Um,
know if you saw like the end of that. That
I
that
did.
really
I
felt
did.
like Game 7 all over again. Obviously, it didn't have the same kind of outcome to it, but like that felt like Game 7 all
Yeah.
because like the Warriors got up huge, and then the Kings were like probably thinking to themselves, "We just need to pull this within 10, and we can get in." And the Warrior and like Steph, like there was a clip of Steph talking to them like we can't be turning the ball over. Like every time we got to get good shots because of the fact that we need to win this game. But like there's a clip of him talking to his teammates, so you can clearly tell he wanted to win by 12. Then they brought it back, and then it just came down to like they wanted to win the game clearly for the standings itself, and obviously that was a really interesting game. That was fun, but that was playoff atmosphere.
For sure, for sure. But hey, this was part one of the Warner Brothers podcast. You will be seeing this on your feed on what will
Yep.
be December 5th, Tuesday, December 5th. So you'll see this first. Enjoy it. Enjoy the games tonight or last night. Enjoy the games on Tuesday too. We will be back to talk more of this NBA in-season tournament. Wish I had a cooler name and such this week. Can we compare it to the Rotaries? They even get medals like the Rotaries too. So this is goddamn near the Rotaries or the Christmas tournament or something like
The
that.
North Troy,
NBA
the North
Christmas
Troy.
tournament
See,
slash
you know
AAU
what? I
tournament.
wouldn't even be mad if it was at Christmas time and it was the NBA Christmas tournament. That would sound much better than the in-season tournament because at least it's a
Sound
Christmas. Like
cooler.
we know,
Sound
it's
cooler.
around Christmas time and it's a specific Christmas tournament. Like it's the. I would rather that. It'd be cooler than the in-season, but this is the Warner Brothers.
Listen, check it me and Keenan out on Live Take. Download the Live Take app. It's iOS only. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Yep.
all that. We got to gear up for part 2. We're out of here. See you soon. Peace.